Imagine receiving a message from space that no one at NASA wants you to hear. A transmission so bizarre, it defies explanation and could change everything we think we know about the universe. In the vast emptiness beyond Earth, silence is expected. But sometimes, silence is broken. For decades, NASA has been monitoring the cosmos. Signals, beeps, and transmissions from satellites, deep space probes, and distant stars. Some are perfectly normal, others are not. Among these anomalies, there are messages that remain classified, messages that scientists refuse to explain. And today, we're diving into one of the most disturbing. It all started in the late 1970s with the Voyager probes. Voyager 1 and 2 were humanity's first real ambassadors to the stars, carrying golden records filled with sounds and music of Earth. But decades later, the instruments picked up something no one expected. A faint rhythmic signal, not a natural phenomenon, not a pulsar, something artificial. NASA engineers recorded the signal. They tried to trace its origin, but the data was incomplete. And when it reached a certain frequency, the recordings were redacted. Then came the first cryptic message. It appeared in telemetry logs from a probe orbiting Saturn. Engineers reported an audio sequence, a pattern of sounds that resembled Morse code, but it wasn't Morse. Letters, numbers, symbols, impossible to decode. Some described it as a message, a warning, others as a countdown. What made this even more disturbing was what followed. Shortly after these signals were intercepted, several NASA scientists reported strange occurrences, unexplained headaches, insomnia, even vivid shared dreams. They said they could hear whispers while analyzing the recordings. Whispers that weren't recorded in the logs. Attempts to replicate the messages failed. Every new transmission was slightly different, yet unmistakably related. The signals seemed to respond to human attention, to observation. Almost alive. By the early 2000s, classified documents leaked, small snippets. Analysts described the messages as cognitively disturbing and not of human origin. Some internal reports even suggested that the transmissions contained patterns that could manipulate human thought. NASA officially denied these claims. Publicly, it was all labeled as instrument noise. But whistleblowers, former mission control staff, told a different story. They described a series of encrypted transmissions appearing on deep space monitors. They had names like Project Echo and Signal X, and according to them, attempts to broadcast a reply were met with interference. Something on the other end didn't want humans to respond. Even more chilling. In the late 2010s, a private astronomer in Canada recorded a nearly identical signal. When he shared it with colleagues, NASA intervened. The data was confiscated, and the astronomer was pressured to remain silent. The pattern is clear. These messages are being monitored, tracked, and contained. But the origin, the source, remains unknown. Here's the most disturbing part. Some experts theorize that these transmissions aren't just signals, but a form of communication from a civilization far older than humanity. One that exists in dimensions we cannot perceive. Others believe it could be a warning. A warning that if we dig too deep, we might trigger something we are not prepared for. And here's the twist. Despite decades of advanced technology, humanity still hasn't decoded a single complete message. We only hear fragments, pieces, enough to know that what we are receiving is not random. Something is deliberately making sure we don't understand. The universe is vast, and sometimes it sends us messages we were never meant to hear. Messages that terrify, confuse, and haunt those who dare to listen. If you want to uncover more stories like this one, subscribe to Dark Depth Files.